Hello, everyone. I am Daniel, and you guessed it, we're back for another one of these retrospectives of cards from one of the Arkham Horror investigator sets. We're looking at just player cards, and I've actually not done one of these in a long time, partly because the idea is to look at the cards in the context of the modern card pool, and some things have changed since last November when I did the Circle Undone. So we'll do Dream Eaters, but just a kind of point of order here that now I kind of waited because I wanted to see what was going on with the new investigator set, which was the Drowned City, the new investigators and the new cards kind of makes us look at some of the old ones again. Especially, I think, with at least before I've looked and thought about this too much, a lot of parallels with George Barnaby and Patrice Hathaway. They care about discarding cards and doing things with the discard pile in ways we haven't really seen before. So maybe some of those survivor cards look better now. But it's not just that. Those are really powerful investigators in that set. And with Myriad also making a return, kind of want to revisit that idea too. And of course, at one point it made sense to do these videos because people wanted to know, hey, what investigator box set should I pick up next? And now that we know that probably a lot of these are going out of print eventually, there's a little bit less of an incentive to talk about the whole card pool. But we don't know anything about that yet, and it hasn't happened. It's just May of 2025. We expect maybe next year that the current environment comes into play. So, um, well, the idea of here's what you should buy next, and maybe it's this set, comes into play. Also, I think it could be which ones will you actually want to go buy? And I think Dream Eaters is going to be one of them before it goes out of print because there's a lot of powerful investigators, as I said, but player cards too. So um, the tier list that I've been using as a framework to discuss this is on screen now. And uh, again, it's a framework. This is not some authoritative list. They are categories that are just helpful for us to discuss. But there's going to be some overlap. So the way I'm operationalizing this is essentially which cards have changed since they first came out. Especially since the card pool was already pretty big when Dream Eaters came out. Um, it's harder to start evaluating these cards as changing too much. The Innsmouth and Investigator starter decks came out soon after Dream Eaters, so this is about halfway through ish the card pool, but many new archetypes and investigators have come out since. So yeah, still one of the best. These are just the really, really good cards that still see a lot of play, and these were always strong cards. The ones that are just still good, they are a tier below. They're strong cards, of course, but haven't always reached those high highs of still one of the best. This trending up, these are going to be cards that I'm most interested in, ones that have gotten better with newer investigators, with fully fleshed out archetypes, more cards in the card pool. Same thing with trending down. I'm thinking about these cards being, not as good anymore because there's been something better, or maybe the designers have forgotten about these cards. That's kind of the idea. Now, it doesn't mean in these two categories that the cards are necessarily good or bad. Sometimes I'll put a bad card in trending up because it's gotten better, and sometimes a good card will be in trending down because it's gotten worse. That's just the way this works. I wish I could have 4 tiers or 10 tiers or something, but we're just not going to do that. I've used the same tiers since the beginning of this series. I'm going to keep using it. Still just okay. These are cards that are just fine. Haven't really changed over the last few years. And then the bad cards. All right. This also gives me a chance to talk about them in a little more detail than I probably have in other videos. Haven't prepared per se about any of this. Is just kind of my current thoughts about the cards and the card pool in general. You're going to see fewer cards because we have Myriad. There's just 3 cards of the allotment in these boxes to basically one card. So you can have instead 2, you get to have 3. And then there's some bonded cards, which are kind of weird too. I'm not going to put obviously the bonded cards in here separately. They're the same card. Bonded cards are the same as their set aside versions. So we're actually going to start with one of those already. This is the Guardian class weird weapon. the Hungering Blade, a level 1 card, and you only get one of them in your deck, but as additional cost to put this card into play, you have to search your bonded cards for 3 copies of Bloodlust, and that, by the way, looks like this. I don't remember what my hotkey is for the slideshow, so oh well. This is Bloodlust, so what you do with this card is that you have to remove 2 offerings from the Hungering Blade to attach it to it. If you can't, you take Horror and then it goes back in the deck. And when you use the Hungering Blade, you can get rid of one of these to deal extra damage. Now, the Hungering Blade itself gets offerings by killing enemies. This made a lot of sense in the Dream Eaters because there were lots of these swarm cards. So you had enemies that had extra copies of themselves, essentially. So it was easier to get more offerings on this card. This has never really seen a lot of play. There are some interesting decks. There, back in the day, was like a Mr. Rook deck with Roland or Zoe that tried to get those weaknesses out when you wanted to, but with Mr. Rook being taboo to not work as well, not working at fast speed anyways, hasn't really seen as much play. I've tried it in a Vincent Lee deck because it's kind of funny as just like a one-handed weapon. But right, we just don't have so many one-handed weapons in Guardian. Melee, we have Machete, and that's kind of good enough. This is just Machete with some other interesting steps. I'm going to put this in just okay. I don't think it was ever a winner. It's a cool card, but I don't know. I guess it's been a little bit better now that you get extra hand slots with Occult Reliquary, but that's not really moving the needle for me. Let's move on to the next one, which is Solemn Vow. This is a myriad card that you've got 3 copies. You play it under the control of someone else, and you exhaust the card. You move a damage or horror from a card they control over to one of your cards. And this has just been a fun card to, if you have deck space for it, to throw into a deck to help quasi heal other players. Now, the best part about it is that it's not just from their investigator cards, from other things, like you pull it off of a B-Cop or something, you get to place damage onto a card that you control, so that means that, you know, you can heal off of it if you're playing a Peter Sylvester, Jessica Hyde, you just want to defeat assets, right? This is a Tommy deck staple, I think. It's a good card. I've always had a hard time putting it into a deck because you kind of want, well, you want 2 at least, maybe you want 3. It's got good icons otherwise. We're going to throw it into just you know, I mean, okay, so here's the thing about this one. Has it gotten better with Vincent Lee and with Carson Sinclair out? Is there any other synergies since Dream Eaters came out that this allows you to do? And again, I don't want to just put something to trending up or down just because there's literally one more card that might help it. But I'm not really seeing enough from, I mean, okay, so Hank can do this maybe? Hank, Carson, Vincent. Okay, I'm seeing enough. Hank, I think, puts it over the hump there. I think you really can use. I mean, you can use Hank's ability in general, but you could actually play this on Hank to quasi heal him, right? Okay, I mean, I want to give some of the under played cards a bit of their time in the sun with these sorts of lists as well, because there is some extra play with these. Daring has always been a very vid card, and we're going to put it at still one of the best. The reason why it was good to begin with is because it's overpower plus manual dexterity. The alert or retaliate is what you're trying to avoid with the 3 wild icons in the first place. Drawing a card obviously is really good. Silas likes it as well. This is just a solid card even for Mystics because it is 3 wilds and not one of those other icons. That specifically means you have to use those kinds of tests. This could be used in a willpower test. This replaces overpower in most decks, except for you can't use it on like a locked door or something. Still one of the best cards. It's just a very easy include. First watch. So I'm trying to remember when Gloria came out. I want to say it was around this time. It may have been a little bit after. It's now that Gloria has had her full release, this card is interesting. It's one of the very few cards that Gloria can use. I think it's just it's a good card, right? You play it at higher player counts. You play it at 3 or 4 player because you want to um, see what the entire Mythos phase looks like and potentially take all of the encounter cards for yourself. Um, the new Drowned City card called Deliverance is like a souped up version of this, but even I think First Watch is going to see play, even if Deliverance is like a competing card for, oh, I don't know, Diana or something like that. Um, Good card. This is still does a lot in higher player counts, I think. There's some cheese you can pull up with this where you play it with fewer than player count cards left in the encounter deck, and that means you don't actually draw all the encounter cards because this replaces the normal step of drawing encounter cards. So if you have a 4 player team and you've got 1 card left in the encounter deck, you play this, you draw the 1 card, no one else draws anything, and that's it. So, I mean, that's a little bit probably unintended, but there you go. Tetsuo Mori still going to see some play because even though at level 0 he does not have any stat boost, which is what you really want for a guardian who fights things, if you already have a 5 in the stat, like Daniela, for example, or Mark Harrigan, who is already out at this point, you are fine with giving up that B cup extra price, extra combat, but you get this ability to soak for your team and find weapons from the discard pile. Obviously, a Tommy staple, but I think this is like getting even better. The more team support that has come out in the game, the better this card really is. And that means Carson Sinclair can run this, and you don't really have to worry about the stat boost because you didn't need it in the first place. Uh, Again, there's like a few more archetypes that were fleshed out in future sets, especially the Guardian support, that I think this looks really nice. Let's keep going. I don't want to spend forever in this video because there's 80 some odd cards here. Fool Me Once. It's an insight and a tactic, and that means that Kate Winthrop can take it now, and maybe she wants to if she's trying to cancel her weakness from cycling her deck so many times. Yeah, how does this work? You play it basically to cancel a card after you've drawn it. So it's like a ward protection, but you ward basically the future, the second one that you would draw. Or you don't react to it at all, and you just leave the card in your threat area for the rest of the game. That's also something you can do. Um, yeah. If I think this is just still good, right? This card still does what it says. I don't think there's anything special that you can do with it now. Again, the team support thing like Carson is probably fine for this, but um, I don't see it being like extra good. It's still basically anyone could take it. I mean, Diana already, right, probably wants this. Self-sacrifice. This is card I have considered in Carson and never anyone else, basically. Um, and I know that maybe means it's trending up because of Carson alone. What does this card do? You can only commit it to someone else's test, and if the test fails, you get to take all of the problems from that test, like taking horror or something from your rotting remains, and then you choose who gets to draw a couple of cards. I just don't think this is worth the deck slot. If you're running Carson Sinclair, this is not any better than basically anything else you could do. Like, there's no reason for them to want to fail the test. You might as well commit some icons to them or a take heart if you're running the Survivor Carson off class. Yeah, that's about all I can say, right? What exactly are you trying to do that this is worth a deck slot? It's not worth it. I think it would be more interesting if you could play it reactively as an event rather than play it as a skill card, assuming that this test is going to fail. I don't like that part. Take heart is different because you get resources and cards. It's maybe worth doing that. Okay, the Winchester is a funny one because this is the original printing of it. It's got that hilarious mistake, right? That doesn't spend ammo. But so for sure it got errated to spend one ammo, fight. But it has the original wording of you getting the extra damage if you reveal a +1/0 or Elder Sign. And people are like, yeah, maybe we can make that work in some token manipulation decks, but otherwise, on average, you're not getting that +2, and you don't really want to be at the mercy of your token draw to do the right amount of damage to defeat an enemy. Spending ammo for resources to hand slots to only do one damage is like Song of the Dead bad, right? So, like, worse, because that card, well, I mean, this doesn't cost experience, but this costs your 2 hand slots, and that's pretty bad. Need some other way to do damage. So, um, this one's trending up only because they tabooed this to work on non-negative tokens. Sorry, tokens with non-negative modifiers. So, blessed tokens are good. Jim's skull token, which has a 0, also good. And then sometimes in some scenarios you get um, just a 0, I suppose, on a skull anyway, or maybe some other symbols as well. Anyway, this card actually performs if you build a deck around it, and you can. Sister Mary can build a very good blessed deck with this. Ald McBride 2. I've done a Zoe deck, right, that does this very well. I think the new Katarina Soika, I believe is her name, will just get you symbols and probably gets you either the Elder Sign or a Blast token. Seems really good. Um, yeah, this is a very fine weapon to build around. You don't just throw it into any deck. Safeguard 2. I'm going to say this is trending down because Safeguard 0 came out later and, in my opinion, is just better. It's just better. What does this one do that the level 0 one doesn't? 2 things. It allows you to move ahead of the investigator who moves. So you have your Squishy Seeker who moves into a location with an enemy in it. You get to move at the same time, essentially, and engage an enemy that was sitting there, and your Seeker gets to continue their turn and just investigate, no problem. That seems really good. It also allows you to move more than once. So your teammate moves several times during their turn, you get to keep moving, not just once. But for 2 XP, it also changes something interesting. It only allows you to do this when someone else moves during their turn and not for any other reason. I've found that you kind of want, especially if you're playing Carson Sinclair, the level 0 version because it allows you to move when anyone else moves. Again, you move second, but that's probably okay in Carson. And honestly, in every other Guardian, it's also fine. Yes, you don't get to do this sneaky little I move somewhere and the enemy engages someone else, the Guardian. But you know what? You can save your 2 XP and just play a little bit differently. Play such that they move you and there's no enemies there in the first place. That's kind of my opinion on that. The card is still good. But for 2 XP, it kind of changes the play pattern a bit in ways that isn't always a benefit. In fact, when I've played Carson before, I've had one of each. One for moving on my turn, like you tell, hey, my friend, take an action to move, then you move with them. And then they keep moving, and then you get to use Safeguard level 2. So, like, the card's good, but sometimes you actually want the functionality of the level 0. I also say this. It's not a bad thing for someone else to take those move actions. As a Guardian, you save yourself some actions to just do other things anyway, like playing weapons or playing events or something. Okay. Heroic Rescue. Haven't played it. This seems like a Daniela card if we actually had it at level 0, but it's not, although there is a level 0 in Carcosa, maybe? Okay, fast play when a non-elite enemy would attack another investigator at your location or a connecting location. Move to that location if you're not already there. Engage the enemy, resolve its attack against you instead, then deal 1 damage. Okay, it's a good card, right? Think about Nathaniel Cho, who came out after this. Gets you the move, gets you an engage. Could be good with Zoe. It requires the attack thing. So it requires play patterns that people don't usually like, but yeah, I mean, like, what are you putting in your deck that this is better? What are you taking your deck at level 0 that this is better than? Like, you really want to have a big team, maybe 4 players, 3 players potentially, and someone who's kind of squishy might get attacked. It's okay, right? You got to play it in the right, like, guard dog properly deck too. I'm going to put it in still just okay. I think it does what it wants to do. I just don't know if I want to do that all the time. Ooh, leadership. This is still quite a good card. I don't think it's gotten any better. Again, there's the support part from Carson. It's a very strong Carson card, but I think it was played basically, it should have been played in a lot of other decks too. Like, this is just a nice card for Carson to use. All right. Let's think about who else has come out. There's Sister Mary, who actually, I mean, you're not using it on yourself per se. Nathaniel Cho, so you don't need these skills. Carson, Danielle, no, not Danielle. This would be Lily, maybe, and then in the last 2 we have Wilson Richards and Marion. I think this is just still good. I feel like Tetsuo is different because this is a card that you could play in Carson to help out the team in ways that felt like you were contributing. And leadership, I think you would play no matter who you are as a guardian. You could. It's not just a support card at all. Empty vessel. Okay. So this is an interesting one because we now have a lot of ways to add charges. So this is a card that doesn't do anything until you have 3 charges on it, and then it becomes this crazy Wish Eater card, which heals you. It cancels tokens. It's just incredible. It's a level 4 card. It does a lot. I think this is trending up simply because we have way more charge support, and that is good. Okay. Yeah, I think this card is just strong and is gonna do a lot for more recent decks too. So Sister Mary, right, can run this with the charge stuff. Ursula, I've run it in. You can do correlate all its contents with that and more charges. Who else has come out more recently? I think Marion would like this reasonably. She likes to defeat enemies. Lily, reasonable take. Anyone else can take Enraptured 2? I mean, Enraptured 2 kind of is the juice here, but I think there's just more. There's Winds of Power also, which means that Carson could directly take this, although he probably shouldn't. It's gotten better. I just think there's just more charge support in general now. Okay, Spiritual Resolve is interesting to me. I was just thinking about this one the other day because I've been playing Hunter's Armor, card from Scarlet Keys that feels very similar to this. And that's in a Mark Harrigan deck that is trying to use 10 XP into that card, Hunter's Armor. And this is 5 XP for 3 copies of something kind of similar. It's got less functionality, but it allows you to I mean, what do you get? You get max, like, what, 7 if you draw all of these? 7/7 to use. And then discard. That's pretty good for 3 resources and just the 5 XP in a slot that's like pretty uncontested in the class. So I've played this in Nathaniel Cho as an interesting way to just have a place to tank, but the upgraded Hunter's Armor also takes up the same slot. Um, I don't know. I think the Hunter's Armor, again, I think they're actually costed in a pretty competitive way, right? Because that one costs slightly more, a lot more XP if you want to fill it all the way up, but then you don't need to draw multiple copies just to get the higher health and sanity. Hmm. Does anything care about this since this came out other than like Dragon Pole? I think this is trending down. I don't think this card is as good because we have a lot more soak these days. That is, I mean, 5 XP is a pretty decent deal, but I think I'd rather run Hunter's Armor. And there's other things too, right? Obsidian Bracelet, hand slot, but still, and better healing. I don't know. I think this one's like just not as good. We may have finished all the Guardian cards, so looks like Ronda Mystic. Here's a bonded one. We have Stargazing. It never was that good of a card, but it's kind of a fun one. It's gotten better in some sense because of cards like Farsight or Carson Sinclair, or it's an Insight, right? This is something Parallel Roland can play. Yeah, fast. So there's like kind of some ways to make this a little bit better. Um, Gloria, Norman kind of can play around with this sort of stuff. Um, who is this for in this set? The Mystic was Luke. I don't think he did anything special with this. And can anyone else take it in this set? Mandy? It's it's okay. It's still okay. It's gotten a little bit better, but not enough. Not enough in my opinion. It's a fine card to put in your deck if you have nothing else you want to do. It's going to help, but so are these other cards, right? I don't think there's anything that's meaningfully interacted with the encounter deck besides Gloria, but she's not making this card any better. Um, Scrying, right? So here's the problem with this card, right? If you play this and then discard it because you're playing some scenario that discards the top cards of the deck or reshuffles the encounter deck and you don't draw it, it's kind of not great. Um, so it's better. It's better as an event like with Farsight or Parallel Roland, where you just weren't doing anything else with that ability anyway. But I feel like we just need something else that helps you draw certain treacheries out of the encounter deck. Maybe you play this in Patrice and then resourceful out of Nature of the Beast or something to try to dig it. Maybe one day we'll get something that's a little more likely to make this pop off. We don't have it yet. I mean, I do like the Stars of Rights. It's good. This card is it's interesting because it reminds me of On the Hunt or First Watch to some extent, where you're replacing an encounter card draw. A lot of people say like Gloria's ability just defangs the encounter deck, and it does. It does. But they say you just discard the worst thing that you see in the top two cards with Alyssa Graham. Yeah, that you do that. But the problem with that is that you still have to draw something else. And I mean, I guess Gloria maybe helps you filter the encounter deck too to make this a little bit better. Um, okay, I've convinced myself. Ugh. I think the Alyssa Graham Gloria combo does make this better because you can start filtering the encounter deck at fast speed to get this quicker. It's still kind of a card, but I kind of like that idea. Anyway, finish my thought here. Um, you are actually, unless you are drawing this instead, which is essentially canceling any encounter card. You don't know what it would have been, but you cancel encounter card, you get an action resource and card back. That you don't have to deal with a problem that turn. That's really good. Compare that to say On the Hunt, where you are dealing with an enemy, but an enemy of your choosing, which is good, but you're not drawing some other encounter card too. So I just feel like people who think that Gloria's too OP, and I think she was with the old ability, kind of forget the fact that, yeah, you get rid of things from the top of the encounter deck, but they're doesn't mean that you're not drawing something. It may be something worse, hopefully not. But you're drawing something. And not every card is a soft card. Open Gate. Um, this is a myriad card. You get 3 of them. You get to drop them around the map, and you get to move through your gates that you put down. Very cool. And I don't think this has much support other than the fact that in Innsmouth and Edge of the Earth, especially, we got some big maps. I've never really made this card do anything great, though. I feel like it just pads out a Patrice deck sometimes because it's fast and that's kind of neat. Um, yeah, but it's kind of like a shortcut if you can make it work. It's just sort of a bad shortcut. Scroll Prophecies. I'm gonna say this card is getting better. I think it was always pretty good, but the idea that a Mystic has nothing to put in their hand slots, I think, has always been wrong. The card draw has always been good. Discarding one card is not bad. Using on other players has been good. I think Amina kind of makes good use of this because it can cost you nothing if you put a Doom on it. We have more secret synergy as well, which is kind of neat. And, maybe even discarding things is a benefit. If you put this in an Agnes or Patrice deck, or I'm not sure who else can take this in all the discard events, it's maybe a good way to get things into the discard pile. I think this card is pretty good. Okay, Read the Signs, Spectral Razor, and Ethereal Form. I hope those are the next few. No, they're not. I guess it's alphabetical order. Are really, really good events that got even better because they have an upgrade. So Down the Rabbit Hole, Arcane Research, all the rest. I mean, but the Ceiling Man is just still really good. This is one of the very few events that actually gets clues in Mystic. You get Drawn to the Flame, you get this, and you get String of Curses or something now. This card usually puts together 2 good numbers. In most Mystics, you have at least 4 plus 3, maybe 5 plus 3, maybe 4 plus 4. You're getting like 7 or 8. And that's a really good number, especially you get to add other stuff to it. The ignoring a haunted effect is not terribly relevant. It could be, but it actually triggers less often than people think. Like, it doesn't ignore treacheries, it doesn't ignore things that are just constant abilities on locations, because those are not triggers or keywords. But you know what wins you games? Spending 2 resources to get 2 clues. Think about this. In Rogue, you have to spend 4 resources for 2 clues with Intel Report. This is better. Actually, there's a lot of events that get clues with a better rate than Rogue can with Intel Report. But the thing is, Testless is very nice too. Okay, Healing Words has gotten better in the sense that there's an upgrade one and there's Vincent Lee, but this card is not worth a deck slot. It's like Clarity of Mind. 1 action to play, 1 action to heal 1 damage, and a spot in your deck. This is something that I think is even a trap if your story asset gives you something like this. But being able to just have that for free, so like the Drowned City has some of these story assets, is way better than spending a deck slot and some resources to do it. So this card is bad and hasn't gotten better. I'm not putting it into Vincent Lee. Okay, Ethereal Form is an interesting card. It's okay. It has this interesting ability to add. Well, so you add your willpower, so this is probably like a 5 to 7, I hope, test. But then you're not going to engage enemies for the rest of the round, and they can't engage you. Probably can't attack you either. And this is kind of a neat thing, but if you're not playing solo, it probably just becomes someone else's problem. So, it's still just okay. Just okay. I wish it were a little bit better. I think it needs to cost like one. I think these evade vents are like pretty interesting. And I don't know if they've gotten them right still. Um, I've used this in Patrice to try to evade the Watcher from Another Dimension if it happens to align, because you get your number high, and that's kind of important for Patrice. But I don't think this has a great home. Who are you running this that gets you to 8? You have Safina, you've got Agnes. Agility is not really a strong suit in Mystic. That's why this is kind of feels different than the Rogue and Survivor equivalents. Spectral Razor, I mean, you can run this in anyone. You can run this in Daisy Walker. I've done it. Now, you put some resources into higher education to make it work, but the reason you do this is because every event at level 0 that deals damage does not do more than 2, except for this guy. Some exceptions, right? Um, you can get more damage with the explosive ward or whatever it's called. Got a few hoops to jump through for that, and it doesn't work on elites. And you got to be engaged with it. This thing pulls something that is engaged with someone else or is aloof. It's only 2 damage if it's an elite enemy, but you know what? Doing all that damage, at least 2, and getting off of something, and making sure you can hit, right? Like, this is a pretty cheap event to add your skills together. That's really good. Okay. I mean, you get 3 damage with backstab. I'm not saying that like there's no events that do this, but for Mystic, that's pretty unusual. I think you just run this in every single fighter. If you want to be boring, that could take it. There's an upgraded version too. Word of Command. I've never played this card. So you have to basically be running a deck that really wants a single spell card. And it's so expensive. Maybe it's a level 5 Shriveling. You don't want to spend another 5, you just want to spend 2. But you also want to spend an action and 2 resources. I don't think this is a good card. I think this is like maybe you're running an enormous deck and it's like super important for you to run whatever that spell is. I don't think that's a good deck building principle. I think you don't want to do that. I think you want to run 2-ofs and you want to run draw, because if you do happen to draw the important thing early and this is a dead card with no icons on it, what are you doing? You would rather have other kinds of draw to get there. And you can get that, right? Like, this is a spell. Does this look better than Arcane Initiate? I'm just not a fan of this kind of thing. I mean, I'll run it if I have to, but I've never been compelled that I've got like a 50 card deck or something. I need to find one spell in my first couple rounds or I'm toast. And it's interesting because the new Eldritch brand, I think it is, kind of does this for 10 XP, right? Unless you play it. And this costs you an extra action, 2 resources, and a spot in your deck. I think that card's way better, and I don't think that card's that good. I mean, the card it does a lot, right? It's a fine thing to do if you've got tons of XP, but I would rather just draw into the right stuff. And maybe I'm just lucky. Maybe I just don't sit around and have like the worst opening hands or something, but I would rather more aggressively mulligan or run other kinds of card draw to get me there. Maybe 2-player, maybe solo. You kind of have to do it. But I don't think so. The 3 Empower Selves, these all work the same way. They all take up 1 arcane slot, and they allow you to use a real stat, so combat, agility, intellect, instead of willpower. And you also can exhaust the card to get +2 to that relevant stat. They're not cheap. You could put these in Patrice. That's about as far as I've seen them. And even so, I think you'd do other things like Cornered instead. I mean, it doesn't require you to do anything but exhaust the card. That's pretty good. It's still okay. I don't think this is a strong card. I guess I'll put them... I'm just put one of them there. I don't need to put them all in. Twilight Catherine Price. Interesting card, right? Now that we have charges popping up in all sorts of other places, do you want to spend 3 XP, your ally slot, 3 resources to have spells that just don't run out. Maybe not. Okay, here's some craziness. Okay, the Edge of the Earth spells, one charge doesn't do much. Dexter came out after this. Doesn't care if the spell runs out of charges. The new spells from Drowned City, also, they have a million charges. One charge is not really the point. I mean, it still kind of runs well with the Spectral Shield, which requires you to spend stuff, but I feel like for 3 XP, I would rather just play another copy. I think this is really good if you're planning on running Shriveling, Azure Flame, Rite of Seeking, those things that are, you just don't want them to run out. On higher player counts, you kind of need that because you will eventually run out of charges. In lower player counts, a second copy is probably enough, and then you've finished the scenario by then. That's the part I've always thought about Catherine Price, is that you don't need that many charges. So it has to be from a spell asset. So it doesn't work for does it work for the Eyes of Illusia, Blade of Yoth? I think so. I think is that a spell? I gotta look that up real quick. No, that doesn't work because you are spending off of the relic version. The Eyes of Illusia is a spell asset, but Blade of Yoth is not. Interesting. I don't think she's worth the squeeze. Summon Hound, my good old friend. I don't like this card. This card basically is a design mistake, in my opinion. Okay. As additional cost, you need to shuffle in Bad Dog. Bad Dog is bad. Bad Dog takes the place of um your ally here, and does take up an ally slot and an arcane slot. And even when you kill off Bad Dog, Good Dog does not ever come back. And you don't know when Good Dog is or how long Good Dog is going to last. Except, what if you didn't pay that additional cost at all? What if you played a chance encounter and played it at no cost? Well, put it into play, rather. Because you're not actually playing it, you're putting it into play. Well, then the card lives here forever and gives you a free action to fight or investigate with a base skill of 5. And I just don't think these designs are very good, where it's like a very strong upside. Yes, I know it takes up 2 slots. A very strong upside and a downside that if you cheat, there is no downside. Now you have something really, really strong forever. And if you don't cheat it out, it's kind of just bad. And that doesn't give you any interesting play patterns. It really is just, to me, a terrible design for a card. Unless that was unintended, I don't know. I think it should just always give you the bad dog, and you got to fight the bad dog off and then get the good dog back. Then it's a more interesting deck. Because I've never seen anyone play this in a deck that couldn't cheat it out. Maybe you've done it before. I actually have. But I think it just gets absurd if you are only doing it with a chance encounter or other cards of its ilk. Anyway, and there's more of those cards probably. I think this is good. The ability to have an extra action is good. Base 5 is good for Patrice. Good for a lot of people, honestly. You don't want to do the fight on this too often. The investigate's way better. Like, 1 clue is better than 1 damage. But it's there in a pinch, and you could ready it, and then you could do it again. Yeah. Here's another Patrice card. Mind's Eye. I've never seen anyone play this card except for in Patrice. So this is the opposite of the other one, the Empower Self. This one is, I want to use my willpower as much as possible, and the other stats are garbage. Let me use this, and it kind of has the ability that the other Myriad card had, and that was the ability to recharge it by discarding another copy. I think it's an okay card. It takes up a lot of your arcane slots, so you don't have to do anything else, which is kind of weird with willpower only, right? Like, that's what you're using willpower for in the first place. So now you're using it on events, on treacheries, on basic investigates. I don't really know if I know how this is supposed to work. So let's just put it in okay. I don't want to sell it completely short. All right, where is this card? Did it make the list? Here it is. I think it's okay. It's not bad. It's just, I don't know if that's what you, I don't know if it synergizes the card pool enough, especially these days. All right, moving along, we have Shining Trapazohedron. Another card I've not had much experience with. When you would pay the cost of a spell card, exhaust this, instead test Willpower X, where it's that card's resource cost. If you succeed, you basically just get to play the card without paying the resource cost. If you fail, you don't get to play that card the rest of the round. And you guess you get the action cost refunded, which is reasonable, I suppose. Um, it's all right. I don't think this sees much play when you can get other things in your accessory slot. And like, what else in the Mystic class have we gotten in the accessory slot since? At level 0, Crystal Pendulum. Binder's Jar, level 1. I mean, surely there's other things that I'm not forgetting. A lot of other things in other classes, but it's an economy card that I think I'm going to say it's trending down. It was probably just bad anyway, because you can pay for things using other cards. And specifically, I'm thinking of Prophetic from Edge of the Earth does a better impression of this for less XP and less slots. In fact, no slots at all. Let's keep going. Versatile. Ooh. Ooh. You know what an interesting conundrum this is. I think this card is actually better than it used to be. It was always a trap card, and maybe it still is, because adding to your deck size is usually bad. It's consistency that you're just losing, right? The one out of class slot is kind of, it's all right. You need to pick something where this really matters, I think, for it to be good. Where are you, Versatile? Down here somewhere. We'll get to it. I'll keep talking. So essentially what you're doing, it's right here, is making your deck a little bit worse, but maybe you actually want to add some more level 0 cards, or maybe you don't really care about the deck consistency because your cards are all good to begin with. I think this card's better now because it is easier to have all the cards in your deck be good, and then you don't care about not seeing everything. And maybe, I mean, I know people who just add this for no off class card, but maybe you do get something kind of cool from your off class. I think that the downside matters less. That's kind of the way I feel about the card. I don't think the card is good, but I think it's better because the card pool has improved on average. That makes some sense, I think. Lucid Dreaming. This is the Sled Dog card. It's a spell. You choose a card in your play area, reveal a card in your hand, and you get to find another card with the same name. Another copy of that card, and then you draw it, shuffle your deck. It's all right. I don't think it's gotten any better. It's trying to counteract the large deck size, I suppose. And I think it's good for, like I said, Sled Dogs for finding all 4, but ultimately it's a level 2 neutral card. It's not that good. Black Cat. Well, it has new life with Charlie. Does it, that's a while ago now. Does it have any new life with anyone else? Does anyone else care about this effect? You take it if you have nothing else to put in your ally slot, so you have no particular synergy in your own card pool, and your Elder Sign is kind of garbage, and you just want to have some more soak. It's all right. The -1s instead of bad symbol tokens are better on, of course, hard difficulty level, like a lot better, and reasonable in some campaigns where you do actually have both of those tokens. Not every campaign gets both. Scarlet Keys, for example, you can, but usually you're going one or the other. And let's keep going. Crystallizer. Yeah, you know what makes this card better? This one is the one where you use events as skill cards kind of later on, and as a penalty you get the Crystallizer, Guardian of the Crystallizer. This guy has a problem where it's really competing for that slot with the Lucky Cigarette Case, and that card is just generically better. This one's good in Chuck decks. I'm going to put it says trending up because like Winifred can sort of make use of it. There are some pretty good investigators these days that play events that didn't before. I think this is it's not a good card like in general, but it works in specific decks. Um, and you can do some fine things with it. We'll put it in trending up. That's the weakness. Easy mark, still good. I don't think it's one of the best. I think people overrate this card because I think the 3 deck slots is actually more of a problem than not. But it's a very easy economy card. So it's still very good. Followed. This one is for Tony Morgan to try to get clues with. This isn't a good card. It's just, I think there's other ways to do this. I've tried it in some other investigators. So with Trish, it's like maybe you get a 3rd clue. That's like pretty okay, but you also can do this with a bunch of other things. So I don't know. It's okay. I don't see this being played or being used in anyone that came out any time more recently. Like Alessandra, I guess you can choose the enemy. It's like it's a deduction that you're spending 2 on, but you have a parlay ability to do that already, so it's not that impressive in my opinion. Momentum, still good. I don't think there's any special synergy here other than Winifred. Let God sort them out. I know I'm going quickly here, but I think this is beyond. It's a VP. You can make this happen if you want to throw things in your deck that you don't use half of the scenarios. Then it's okay. I don't think it's like actively bad though. It's a card and an action for VP, and if you don't play it, then it's still at least one icon. I mean, you could make that case about Healing Words, but I think this actually has a much bigger upside than Healing Words ever could. Swift Reload. This one is actually trending up. This one is good for Michael McGlenn. Good for the big weapons that have been released since then. Good card. Gregory Gry, I think he's getting better too because Succeed by X has gotten better. Big Money has gotten better. I think he fulfills a bunch of a role in a level 0 deck that is just horror soaked too. I think this guy's quite good and trending up. 3 Aces is, and it's hard to evaluate. It's been tabooed where it removes itself from the game. And I'm not sure if I throw that into like trending down or what. Because like even the tabooed version is a bit busted because removing itself from the game makes your deck smaller, and that in of itself is actually quite good. Um I'm actually gonna put it up here. I don't think the taboo has hurt this card other than the fact that you can't just cycle your deck and keep using it over and over again. But I think it's still going to do so much for you that you don't mind. Um, oof. Okay. We're going to run it and still good. Burglary, level 2. You can exhaust it, investigate if you succeed. Instead of discovering clues, gain 2 resources plus 1 additional resource for each point you succeeded by. You get max 5 from this. Interesting. I haven't played with this one either. I don't think it's found a good home. We need like someone who gets an extra investigate every turn, and that right now is just Ursula. The level 0 can get you 3 resources, and potentially this only gets you 2. It's a build around card where if you're big money and you can pass investigates, but you can spare the action to do a test. Depends on the shroud you're at, right? Like it's a weird card because it's very variable in terms of how much it can do. Um, so we have Alessandra. We've got who came out this cycle? Who's rogue? No, not Michael McGlenn. Monterey Jack can't, although Parallel can. Who's next? Bob doesn't want to do this. Trish could. I don't know if she needs to. I'm missing someone. Scarlet Keys, the rogue was um Kamani Jones. Absolutely not. And then Drown City was Michael McGlenn and then Alessandra. I don't know. I think this needs just a home still. And we haven't really found it. Maybe it's someone earlier, like a I don't know, just like a well-connected deck, I guess in general. I'm not high on that card. Haste. I think this is still good. I don't think the value of the extra action has gone up or down. It's just still very good. And there's really no one who does this better than anyone else because it's not too hard to take lots of different types of actions during your turn, or rather the same action. Sorry, this is not captivating discovery. Not too hard to do this. I think anyone can make use of it if it's just part of their deck plan. Daredevil. Yeah, this one's gotten better just because of Winifred, right? Um, any other skill-based investigators we have since? Practiced, so you can do this in Amanda. I guess this is like trending up. There's also a tabooed version of it that's maybe even better. Hard to say. Um, Wendy likes this. Let's put it in trending up. I think these are cards that are seeing a little bit more play. And you can't see that one, so let's go start putting at the beginning. Garrote Wire. During your turn, exhaust it, fight +2 for the attack. Use only on enemy with exactly one remaining health. That is, a thing you can do with your accessory slot, but you probably can do better things. It's an extra action to do 1 damage. It's okay. I don't think with all the other accessory slots that we have in Rogue, this makes the cut too often, especially with the larger card pool. The Lila, though, does make the cut, definitely. And she looks really good with basically every rogue that's been printed who does any sort of fighting. And we have Michael McGlenn, 2 good boosts, right? Winifred, Kimani Jones. These are all really good homes, along with Tony, of course, in this set for Delilah. So she's still one of the best allies you can get for a fighting rogue. I mean, what else is there to say, right? The next one is Joey the Rat, who's gotten better because of the masks. I think the masks make this guy interesting. And Bob Jenkins came out a few sets later. Items, right, are really good. Even if you want to talk about Michael McGlenn, like playing a weapon for free instead of using the Robert Castaigne business, you can do this, and then you can actually get the weapon to leave play too if you want to trigger the Remington. So I'm kind of down for him to be even better. The shotgun also, we have a new investigator who cares about weapons. Like, how could this be anything but? Um, so I mean, just rogue fighters in general have gotten way better recently. I think even just Winifred's deck supported this so much. Kamani Jones in kind of odd ways, but like dirty fighting helps a lot, even though it doesn't help like Michael or Tony that much. But there's just so many other pieces here that say, yes, you can fight. And with weapons. All right. Moving on to Seekers. Um, I think Astounding Revelation has just always been a very good Seeker economy piece. Searching is hasn't really gotten any better since Dream Meters came out. So that's actually really interesting. We haven't really had archetype support for research because it's just a Mandy thing, Dream Eaters and Mandy thing. And searching your deck I don't really think there's. I might be missing some cards here, but a lot of them don't really do that. Now, Lucky Cigarette Case level 3 or something in Rogue, came out in Winifred's deck, can proc Astounding Revelation, which was kind of crazy. Oh boy. Okay, these guys have been tabooed as well. So the segments of Onyx, there's 3 of them. You get them all together, and you get the Pen of the Queen, which lets you spend a charge to get a clue remotely, evade an enemy, any enemy, including elites, remotely, or you just go there. The card is busted. Um, I'm gonna put this or whatever you want to call it, Pen of the Queen, up here because even with the taboo, which removes it from the game if there are no charges, it doesn't really solve the problem of this being a 1 XP card. And assembling pieces is no problem. These are relics. Um, I don't know. The card is just nuts. Removing it from the game, like I said before, can be an upside for cycling seekers. I don't want to say much more about this. I think it just should be forbidden from the game. It's problematic. Dream Diary. So this one, in order to translate it, you need to get the um, essence of the dream in your deck. You need to then succeed by 3, and then you get your choice of not those, not that. Uh-oh. Here we are. Dream Diary, the one that is 4 shot or more, quite good. Engage with an enemy, also really good. And then 8 cards in hand. Okay. So these were to me always a bit too good. It's giving a seeker 2 and maybe 4 icons every round, which makes them able to just like walk around the map and maybe like the enemy one, like evade anything that shows up. A lot of the seekers have 3 agility already, so it's not so hard to get to like 7. It's like, really? All the work that other classes needed to do to get +2 and seekers just get it, it takes up a hand slot. Not that you don't have ways of putting things to get extra hand slots in seeker, but that is an issue. Um, I'm gonna say this is like still one of the best, and all 3 of them to me are about equal. You just build decks differently around them. So let's just throw it there. I don't think we've gotten any more support for it. I don't think it needed it. Card's just very, very good. Um, almost a little unfun, I'd say, when other people are playing with it. Otherworld Codex. I don't think this one's gotten any support. This one's interesting because it lets you search the top 9 cards of the encounter deck and then discard something in play that you find a copy of. So really fun for any of those campaigns that have like 3 of 1 encounter card that sticks in play. Could be enemies though too. Um, it's a good card but doesn't see enough play. I'm going to say it's still good because the effect is nice. I think the effect of all of these guys down in the still just okay is like not impressive. Not impressive enough for me. Dream Enhancing Serum. Only the first copy of each card in your hand counts towards your max hand size. After you draw a copy of a card that's already in your hand, reveal both copies. Exhaust this to draw another card. So it is just like churning through your deck at lightning speeds. And Big Hand got more support with Harvey Walters very soon after this, but it was kind of started here, as you'll see for the next card too. So it's trending up. We haven't had much support for this after. There's a few cards here and there that do, but not a whole lot, honestly. I think it's trending up just because the card, we have more myriad cards now, and I think you can. Oh, it's a science card for Kate. I think you can do the churn better than you could even when Dream Eaters came out. Cards busted. This just says draw a card fast. But also, you get to use that card fast now. And when those cards are things like Perception and you draw an extra card from that, Deduction, you get extra clue, upgrade them even better. Card just does a bit too much. A bit too much. Really nice for Carson now because his signature gets hit with this. Obviously, it was good for Mark Harrigan. I think the ceiling is just has already been reached. Like the cards that were really good for it were already out. Perception 2 kind of being an exception. Um, but they have to worry about printing new practice skills, although maybe not anymore with the new environment, because this exists. It just does a bit too much. I would prefer that this said something like you can commit it from the the deck or something, but you don't get the benefits on the card. Unfortunately, that's really hard to make the effect because, like, okay, think about it this way, right? It's practice makes perfect. Why should it just be the same benefit when you play it the first time, the skill, right? Why do I get to commit this and draw a card now and then play it again later and, sorry, commit the card again later and draw another card? That's like, I'm already perfect. Why do I need to practice? Be cool if the first time you use the skill, you get like not as much stuff from it. Problem with that is you've got cards like Promise of Power that on their text box say something like add a curse token. Well, you can't treat the text box as blank, which is kind of what I'm suggesting. If the benefits of the card are not in the text box. Oh well. Extensive research. There's a worse version of this in Harvey Walters, right? That costs 12, but it's level 0. Card is good. This card got better with Farsight. All big hand stuff, I think, did. So we'll just leave it there. There's the Dream Diaries we already saw. Old Book of Lore. It is now in the revised core. I don't know what I put in that video. It's a really, really good card. Let's put it up in like still one of the best. Good in Daisy, good in Mandy. The problem here is like you don't actually play this card anywhere else. You don't play it in. I mean, you could, but I don't see this played anywhere else. Ooh. Well, but in those investigators, it's incredible. All right, we'll leave it in still good. These cards you play in every investigator. Still good. I mean, the ceiling of this thing, being able to play a card off of the search and refill secrets, right, is nutty. Especially now that we get more secret related stuff. It's going to belong here because you just don't play it in other investigators. They can't afford the hand slots. Surprising find. Okay. When you search your deck and surprising find is among the selected cards, put into play, you commit to the next skill test, draw a card. So is this deck thinning? It reminds me a bit of the level 0 card that we have that is a science card, the Uncanny Specimen. It's basically like that. Probably better. It's deck thinning. This is I don't think it's the best usage of your time, but let's put it in still just okay. I think you can do better things with the cards in your deck these days. Abigail Foreman. Wow. I think she's gotten better. The more tomes we get, the better she is. You want to attach a grim memoir to her? Great. She now kind of makes the old book of lore do a lot because she takes up can hold the book, right? Hand slot is not a problem anymore. Always a dangerous thing to double an effect, but we'll always get new tomes. Like that's just the story of the game with Daisy and the core set and just kind of the theme. We're always going to get new tomes. I think this card is on the way up. I don't think she's played enough for that, but if you want to build a busted deck, you attach Grim Memoir, you play Daisy, and you basically have 2 extra actions to investigate every round. All right, I'll finish up the Seekers, I think, with the Eye of Truth. This is still a good card. I don't think it's gotten better because this is one of those things that like scales with the treacheries that we get. The more copies you get, the better the card is. Hard to rate that because that's pretty campaign and scenario dependent. But the card is good. It does what it says. It helps the whole team. Every seeker can take it that gets level 5, and you probably could. It's practiced, right? You can find it pretty easily. It's a spell. Marie can take it. That's kind of neat. Yeah, it's a good card. It does a lot, but I don't think it's gotten better or worse over time. Okay, I'm back to it. I took a break. Sometimes doing these whole videos at once is, maybe not great for me, and maybe doesn't. I don't have as much to say about the cards at the end until I have a little bit more of a refresher. So, Miss Doyle, we're on to the Survivor cards. This one's really interesting because hopefully the cats are in here too. You get Miss Doyle into play, and then you get one random cat. Here's Hope gives you ability to evade at base 5 or just automatically succeed. Zeal, fight, and Augur, investigate. It's interesting to compare this to Summon Hound in the same set, right? Because that one doesn't take any actions and is base 5, and this does take an action. You do get an evade off for these, and that's probably, um, I mean, that's nice to have in the toolbox, but it is unfortunate that I think if you have a Summoned Hound as an option, that's just generically better. It's different, right? It takes up different slots. But, if you're looking at Patrice, who really likes the cats, Preston really likes the cats, Charlie really likes the cats. Um, this card, I mean, Charlie and Patrice can do the Summoned Hound thing too. And that's probably better. Again, there's some slight differences, but if you can manage if you're managing to take Survivor as your off class for Charlie, then I think you do the Summoned Hound. Otherwise, I think the cats are just really good. Um, so I think they're good. They've gotten better with Charlie. Are there any other investigators who care about this recently? I don't think Hank does. I don't think George does. No, not really. Again, it's that extra action that you're like, am already at base 5 with Daryl, right, for investigating. I just would have to I'm getting have to get something out of those extra cats because you don't always get the one that you want. It's still a good card. I mean, again, it's just a Charlie staple, and I know that sort of should count here, but other than that, it's really just sort of it's good for Charlie for like all of the strange reasons, right? It takes up an ally slot. You get I'm gonna put it in still good over here. Um, which is also where I put these cards that you might not be able to see. Um, Charlie, it's just funny because like here's an ally that doesn't take up a slot, and then Miss Doyle has a wild icon, and that's really worth it too. And I think this has been errated so that you don't remove him from the game if she goes out of play. It's still good. This is a very fine addition to particular kinds of decks, but it's not really been trending up in terms of the whole card pool. It's just sort of a Charlie only thing. All right, let's keep going. Hmm, interesting. Okay, Fortuitous Discovery is a myriad card that has generally been pretty not great because the first time you play it, assuming that this is the first one you encounter in your deck, excuse me, you get nothing. It's like you spend no resources to just do a basic investigate, which is hilarious, right? Then, when you get the second one, so this one's in your discard pile, then you can start to get extra clues for one resource and one additional boost. And you get the third one, then it's plus two additional clues. Cost you two this time. That's pretty good. So how can you get it so that the first one and maybe first two are not a problem? So Wendy does well with this, but now we have short supply from one of the next few cycles. We have George, I think, makes this really interesting. Um, I tried it in Bob, and that was a mistake. I was just trying to fill out those level 0 survivor cards. Yeah, at the time there weren't a whole lot of good investigators who could investigate in Survivor with just um, their base intellect. But Patrice could still do it, right? Like Patrice could commit other cards and just get these in the discard pile in the first place. That's the problem. Like these can't go in the discard pile unless you have ways of doing it. So I think with nautical charts, with um, well, anything else that just discards cards from your hand, this has gone up in stock. So I'm just going to put that up there because I think that makes a lot of sense that it is trending up. in ways that maybe even the other ones I talked about with Big Hand have not, right? It's really just more recent stuff where we have survivors who can investigate with their base intellect, Daryl and George for sure. And then we have more discard synergy. Jessica Hyde, always really good. You know, she's gotten better because we have Vincent, really. Really makes a big difference, I think, to start with 2 damage in play on her and then just get some on the mends. Um, but always was that nice analog to Peter Sylvester, who's still one of the best. She's not as good because she's just level 1 and doesn't have another stat boost, and thank goodness because Peter level 2 is just nuts. Um, yeah. So like, is this a Hank card? Is this I mean, it kind of is a Hank card too. Let's put it in trending up just because like we have more ally synergy. We have Vincent. We have Hank. Nothing really in the latest box, but that's okay. Yeah. Scrounge. Scrounge is a tough one to evaluate for me because I think it's very hard to take an action and a deck slot to just recur something. Recursion is very powerful, right? Um, and the more your deck gets upgraded, the worse this gets. You want to lean on things like resourceful instead. That said, it's man, it does what it says, right? If you lose something and you need to pick it up again, there you go. But it's hardly something that you build around or have be like the missing piece in the way that resourceful or true survivor or something else kind of is. So where do I put it? I hate to say like trending down because there's still always good level 0 cards that are printed, right? I think it's just still okay. I'm not. I mean, it's kind of bad in Patrice, right? Because you don't want to spend the action, but maybe you have to. I've never really been in the spot where I feel like I need to. You can do it in some off class like Tony if you are gonna lose like Lonnie or something through a crypt chill, but it's still like you draw a card and it's generally gonna be the ones that are assets, right? Or maybe some events that are really high value because you lost them. And even with short supply, I don't think it's better. Um, it's all right. Oh, this card probably can't get much better. It's going to be still one of the best. Put it up the top here. And yes, I understand with Gift of Nodens, it's better because just all skills are better. But I think that with Tony, with Hank, with Yorick, it's still just kind of at ceiling. Succeeding by 2 is not too hard to do. And yeah, I mean, there's more synergies with it, but there already were a lot to begin with, right? You can recur this with Silas. I guess he was sort of already out at this time. Ugh. It's a bit of a tough one to discuss. Eucatastrophe came out in the previous set for Silas or York. Yeah, let's just leave it up there. I note that there are some additional synergies, but that's the way it goes. Moonstone, always good. What's interesting to me about Moonstone to think about is if it goes in trending up, which I'm putting it there for now just because discard synergy seems to go there. Uh, do the investigators who have discard synergy now actually want it? So who's been released since? I keep just listing the same people off, right? So there's Stella, there's uh, Bob, right, who can actually play it out of someone else's hand, which is funny. Um, Daniela slash um slash Bob. Um and then the next cycle was Daryl, not super interested, only 2 willpower, 3 agility. Hank, sort of. And then George, I think also is kind of in the same boat as Daryl. I'm gonna say this is just like still a good card. All right, I'm happy with it there. Still good. Man, if I put brute force up there. Sharp vision is kind of the same thing, right? Maybe even better, just because we have more investigators who can survivors who can investigate with intellect, like I mentioned before. Daryl, right? George. Um, I mean, it's a good card. It's interesting to sort of think about it in relationship to Contemplative, which is the new Drowned City card that just gets you an extra clue for investigating, but no icons. But you can use other things like assets. This one has to be a basic investigate. You have to succeed by 2. It gives you the 2. It does the recursion with, um, skills in general. Actually, kind of interesting, right? Because Longshot is just 1 extra damage. Brute Force is 2, which is more important, of course. But for 1 XP, does Sharp Vision take the spot over Contemplative? It's interesting because at the beginning of a campaign, when you don't have the skill values to pass the test so easily, you kind of want Sharp Vision. So what does Sharp Vision do that Contemplative doesn't? It gives you literally 1 icon just to get that extra clue. But there's a restriction. I don't know. I'm not sure it's as good anymore. Am I crazy for thinking that? Of course, you can have both in the same deck. Um, because yeah, I mean they're both skills, they're both innate. Are they? Is contemplative innate? I need to look that up. It's innate. So, I mean, I think that's fair. Well, let's leave it there and just sort of say it's an interesting conversation to have. Like, what does this give you? Rather, I mean, it's an extra copy, right? It's an extra copy of a deduction type effect. Glimmer of Hope. This is actually interesting because it goes up in stock in Marion. I think this is getting to be a better card. It was usually just like a card, but it's a fortune card, so Marion can take it. The upgraded one is also probably better, but she needs events to play from her discard pile or to discard with her weakness. So um, for that alone and the other discard synergy, we're going to put it in trending up. Expeditious Retreat. So this is like the other cycle. It's a good card. I actually think that it's probably underplayed in the same way that I find um, Survival Instinct underplayed. And you know what? I'm gonna be crazy here. I'm gonna put this in trending up because of Gift of Nodens. And again, this is just a way to talk about the cards. This is just a framework. And I want to highlight this card here simply because it can be played from the discard pile now. The problem with this card compared to the other two is that you don't really need the effect that often, but when you do, you really like it. You want to be able to evade another enemy at your location. And this one works better than Impromptu Barrier. I think that's what it is, because you don't need to succeed by more than 2. It's just 2. And it could be for elites. Basic evades are pretty common. And just imagine with Gifted Nodens, right? This is in your discard pile. You evade something, committing this card from the discard pile and evade something else. And then you're like, great, I didn't need to hold on to the card. It can be in my discard pile for me to use. And even with George, right? He stores skills in his boat, and that's quite good too. Yeah, okay. I can't say I've played it that much, but I think that there's more use cases for this. I think even if you're going to play like a Wendy or um, maybe read a deck, that you could get some use out of it. Nightmare Bauble. I've never played this card. After it enters play, switch your opponent cards for 3 copies of Dream Parasite, which is a -2 skill. And if you fail the test, take a damage on a horror. So basically, you do that if you want to cancel an auto fail. It's a good card. It's hard to find the space for an effect like this because you're not trying to find auto fails. Like, you don't want to put this, spend 3 XP and put it into your accessory slot and say, I guess I'll cancel autofails and then have a problem later, right? Because the catastrophe you have to hold on to in your hand and it costs 2 resources. But, this is good in a Dark Horse deck. Yeah. Um, I still have never played it. So I think it's just like an okay card. Like, is this what you want to do with your accessory slot, or would you rather have a precious memento, even a rabbit's foot, to get more value out of failing? Like, how bad are those auto fails? It really depends, right? It really depends. Sometimes the auto fails are terrible. Um, but do you plan your deck around that? Okay. If you have extra XP, this is not a bad thing to have. 2 cards left. Scavenging level 2 is nuts. This card is bunkers. It's still one of the best cards you could get. Even though it is tabooed to 4 XP, it is incredible. The extra action that you save on playing that item card is ridiculous. And I don't know what else to say. The scavenging level 0 is always good, but pulling it into your hand and then using it as like a commit or something is like a cute play pattern, but doesn't do as much as, say, I am replaying a fingerprint kit, let's just say, or um, I'm trying to think of all the different use cases of this, and I don't know why I'm messing this up. Oh, any of the soak items, right? Hunting jacket, um, cherished keepsake, that doesn't cost anything, right? Just to be able to play those things without an action, and you can really take advantage of doing that like every turn. With Daryl, who could scavenge like no one's business. I think George can too. This is pretty crazy. And it is discard synergy. I've not tried this in George yet because I don't know if I want to spend the 4 XP, but I think you can. I think you can really take advantage of this. Um, I don't know if man, maybe an off class, but like items in Survivor are very good, but I'm not sure that they do anything more than a lot of the skills can or the ones that you have in play. So it's tough. I think this is a good Patrice card because she needs the actions, right? Spending an action to play items is like pretty bad. But if you can play them from your discard pile all the time, then that's in fact really good. So there's a few more cards now that just started let you do this anyway. That's improvised shield. I think the trash can lid one, and the new one, profane idol. So you kind of don't need this as much. Um, but if you're playing a deck that really can recur and really wants to recur the soak, it's incredible. And I guess like it's again, I feel like it's off class stuff mostly, like things that run out of charges, ammo, right? Um, you play this in Min, you get your Grim Memoir back. I mean, you can do that in Daryl too, or in George. I mean, stuff that doesn't run out, right? You can even do this to play a Schaffner's and help out the whole team. Yep, I've convinced myself again that this is an incredible card. Which leaves us with nothing left to lose. Underrated card. I play it in most survivors now. I think it's still one of the best economy cards you can get. You play your hand down. You get this in your opening hand. You play your beat cop or something in York. You play something else somewhat cheap. And then you play this and get basically a full new opening hand. It's really good. Take two. I know that it removes itself from the game, and you might want to do this more than once. I've been playing this in George. It's as good as you think it would be. I've played it in Silas. Again, you just can play the cards in your hand, especially for playing assets. You need to do a little bit of legwork here. It's kind of like an upgrade to Take Heart, right? But thank goodness it removes itself from the game because it is very, very good economy. So I'm going to leave it at the top there. I don't think it's gotten better because I think everyone can play it and do very well with it. So let's take a look at the whole thing at once. Um, let's see. I mean, it's interesting. Read the Signs and Spectral Razor, having thought about this after a little bit now, they're very good cards. Spectral Razor especially. Read the Signs does just say get 2 clues, which I don't know. It's good, right? But this is not an effect that you always need. Sometimes just 2 basic investigates, saving yourself on the resources, is plenty good. Um, it just feels like it's hard to say no to it in most of the mystics that have been printed. So I'm cool with it being up here, though I feel like it lacks a little bit of something compared to Spectral Razor. And maybe the problem is Spectral Razor is just too good. Okay. Rest of the cards there look pretty fine. Um, I think of the still good ones, the ones I just don't play as much are things like Otherworld Codex, which I think it's just better than okay. I don't think it's changed over the years. I think it's better than okay. It doesn't get enough play. I think maybe because it doesn't work as well in 2 player. In 3 and 4, it's much better because you're more likely to find hits. But that's fine. I'm good with that one and First Watch, and to some extent, Fool Me Once as being cards that are better at different player counts. Um, but really, the trending down, there's not too many. I don't think many of these cards have um, been pushed out by newer effects. It's interesting, right? A lot of these other ones, I think, have just gotten better with new investigators and the full card pool. This is a great expansion. It really is. If you look at the bottom 3 tiers here about things that I don't play as much, and I mean even Safeguard 2 is a bit of a hot take, but and maybe Twyla, but the rest of them are not impossible to see played. They're fine. I just think that deck spots can be very, very competitive these days, and you really need to build around something like Empower Self. But even so, like it's hard to build around that card and make it worth it, in my opinion. Maybe you do a Dragon Pull thing, and then it's kind of interesting, but then they don't take up more than one slot. I just find all those to be a bit awkward cards. And then Self-Sacrifice and Healing Words, you just don't need to play those. I mean, Healing Words is just, it's got the Down the Rabbit Hole thing for level 3, which is a good card. But you might as well just play Earthly Serenity or something, or find a different way to heal damage. Just not a good effect. Um, but I can see lots of reasons to play the rest of these cards. Everything from trending upwards. And again, like I said, there's not as many cards as usual here. Um, even I put versatile in the trending up, right? Because I think there's reasons to play this where you don't feel the deck size quite as much as you used to, and just fitting in more good cards is good. Um, it's a great set. As I said at the beginning, one of the questions to answer here is, do you want to pick up some of these older sets that might be going out of the current environment? And this one wasn't printed too long ago now, right? We had the reprints of Innsmouth and then Dream Eaters before it, and that happened. I want to say both of that was in 2024. So this should be available to you to pick up still. It is a very nice set, and the investigators themselves are all extremely fun and powerful. Okay, that's it for me. I'll do another one of these sometime soon for Innsmouth because a lot of that hinges on our Bless Curse discussion about Hemlock Vale, of course, too. But I've had a good time thinking about these cards. I mean, honestly, we haven't done a campaign play along over on Mythos Busters in a little while for Dream Eaters, I don't think. And just looking at these cards makes me excited to think about which of the investigators from even the newer sets would do very well in such an environment. And I think George would do pretty well, though he kind of needs some of those things that are in his box. But a lot of good stuff here. I also can mention, I forgot to do this before, but because Mandy and Tony are the choose your own off class, um, investigators, there's a lot of level 1 cards here. Level 0 and level 1 skills and events. I think that's true, right? So things like sharp vision, brute force can be taken by both of them. Daring for Tony. Um, practice makes perfect for both Mandy and Tony, technically. Uh, more skills at that level. Events we've got, I mean, because it even like Glory or whatever fits into that deck building as well as Carson, and that's all we have so far. Astounding Revelation fits in. First Watch, Fool Me Once. Easy Mark can go into Mandy. Momentum, 3 aces. I mean, it's a bit of a problem that Mandy gets 3 aces, but the part of the point of why this set is so strong is because they put a lot of power into those level 0 and level 1 cards that can be shared across multiple investigators, and all have reason to take them, right? So Tony can do brute force very well, but even if you find this card in Mandy, you can commit it to someone else. Strong card. Um, yeah, I mean that's what I'm seeing mostly here. Ooh, even Tony can take extensive research. That's interesting. Never thought about that. All right. I will talk to you next time. Different video. I know this series took a while to continue, but we'll get back to Innsmouth sometime soon.